of Gen Z. This country right now, I think, would have been sold 3/4 of it. But the vigilance, at least, is ensuring that there's some breaks, because that's how Moi took us into a pit while we were. And I cannot excuse him, Ati, because he got the government from Uru's dad, who had already messed. That's not the excuse. Kibaki got the country when it was also very down. 20-something years, 24 years of incompetence. And he picked up, and you never heard him even one day complaining about what Moi had done. He was just, his leadership, at times we may say that education is not important, but I think education is very important, because you can see the education, the way Kibaki was well educated. He really handled the government in a very different way. He was not, I remember the CJ saying that during his tenure, at no point did Kibaki pick up a phone to call him, to tell him what to do. So Kibaki, if he delegated to your work, first of all, he delegated to competent people. If he's putting you on finance, he knows that you are an expert in that area and you'll deliver. Then he puts you there and he lets you do. He tells you, maybe this is what we want to achieve, and he leaves you and gives you all the leeway. Not this micromanagement which you are seeing with Ruto, whereby he's all over the place. And then he has turned ministers, in any cabinet secretaries, to be his campaign machinery. Now, are you going to be working, or you're going to be campaigning for his policies, which are, they are dead in the water. They are not. So, in fact, why do you need to campaign for SHA or housing levy? Why do you need to campaign? It should be you're doing something, and we are seeing for ourselves that this thing which we are doing, which you are doing, is working, or it's good for us. But now you have to recruit even the deputy president to campaign for your policies. That kind of garbage is what we were used to during Moi time. Whereby Moi ni baba, Moi ni mama. He has people campaigning for him, akina Kamodho, akina Sharif Nasir. They are busy campaigning for him 24/7. Kibaki removed us from that type of mindset. I don't know. Now this guy wants to take us back. That is almost 40 years ago. I don't know how many years ago. He wants to take us all the way back, because tulikuwa tumetoka kwa hiyo upuzi. You use your cabinet secretaries or your ministers to campaign for you. They are becoming your campaigners. And then they are always campaigning for you. You know that sycophancy which you see in Atwoli. See, Atwoli, he said he's a lifetime member of KANU. And that is the exact sycophancy which was there in KANU. You are just put there to campaign for the guy while everything is going south. And he's busy looting money as you are busy being taken round and round. He's busy looting the country dry. So that is the situation. Me, I see him, when I see the things that he does, I'm just like, this is just exactly what that guy doesn't have even one original thought or even one original strategy. All the strategies he uses ni zile Moi alikuwa anatumia, all of them. Thank you.
Haya, asante sana for that, Malia Davis. Well, Western Shilaho, you had your mic open for a minute. I don't know if you wanted to do a rebuttal or something.
Thank you, Pepita. I think I agree with the career fully. The media is what is referred to as an ideological state apparatus. If you read a French theorist by the name Louis Althusser, he identifies the media as an ideological state apparatus. The media is like the army. That's what it means. But it assaults your mind. It does violence to your mind, just like the police will clobber you on the streets, but that's physical repression. The police will shoot you, that's physical repression. The media shoots your brain and conditions narrative that Kibaki was the best president. That's precisely an example of what Alpusa is talking about. How the media can brainwash people. It's a narrative by the media. Because how can somebody be one of the best presidents when Narcos campaigning towards the 2002 elections? They promised a new constitution in 100 days of assuming power, because at that time, the constitution review had been virtually completed. Moi just dissolved the Bomas process and called for elections. NAC said, okay, don't worry, Kenyans, don't worry. Once we get into power, we'll just, dot the I's and cross the T's, and we give you the new constitution. All the deliberations have taken place. No sooner had he been sworn in than he climbed down on that promise. He climbed down, and John Michuki, one of his sidekicks, told Kenyans, no, we were interested in the constitutional review process because we didn't have one of our own in power. Now we have got one of our own in power. We don't think that constitutional review thing is important. We don't even think the position of the prime minister is important. It's not important. We were just raising these issues because Moi was in power. These things are on record. It's not hearsay. One thing led to the other, to the other. We got the constitution after bloodbath, 2007 election, theft, and the subsequent bloodbath. That's what hastened the process of a new constitution. So how can somebody be a good president, one of the best presidents? It took bloodbath for this constitution that we have. When Kenyans had been promised this constitution, because those are opposition leaders who purportedly were fighting against Moi excesses. Secondly, perhaps Kenyans have never heard of somebody called John Githongo. John Githongo used to work at State House during Kibaki era. And he was Kibaki's, what you would call, anti-corruption czar. He was meant to report directly to the president. Well, something close to Doge in the US, if you like. We like drawing parallels. John Githongo was threatened. Can you imagine working at State House and reporting to the president? But there are people who can threaten you, threaten your life, until he was forced to run away into exile in the UK. And there's a book, while he was in the UK, a British journalist, Michaela Rong, wrote a book on his experiences in Kenya as Kenya's anti-corruption czar under Mwai Kibaki. Our Turn to Eat. That book is about John Githongo, in as much as it was written by a British author. Read that book. It documents sleaze and corruption under Mwai Kibaki era. Part of it was Moi carryover corruption from the Moi era. The Anglo-leasing of this world and what have you, a whole host of graft. So it's not true. It's not true that Kibaki was best president also was better than Moi. Because if you're better than Moi, then we'd ask, under Moi for 24 years, Kenya did not, in fact, there are problems, but Kenya did not stare state collapse in the face. That we did not. We had problems. People used to be taken out by state apparatus, but civil war. At no time did Kenya stare civil war in the face under Daniel Moi. Under Kibaki, we stared civil war in the face. We did. How would you call a president under whose watch the country? In fact, we must give Raila Odinga credit. We don't give him enough credit. Because if Raila Odinga had been another politician like these politicians we see in South Sudan or Congo or across Africa, he would have stayed put and insisted that his victory was stolen and is going to fight it out to the bitter end. And we would not have had a country. We don't give him credit. We would not have had a country, and he would have fought to the bitter end. I don't know how people would have written that history. It was bloody enough, because even 1,300 people dying, 600,000 plus people being displaced, that is macabre enough. It shouldn't have happened. Now, this is a president some Kenyans want to whitewash and tell other Kenyans that was the best president. Well, as Kirer put it, sometimes we're so ensconced in our biases that facts don't matter. But facts are stubborn. You can't wish them away. You know, facts dislodge likes and dislikes. You cannot dislodge facts because you like a person or you dislike a person. Facts are stubborn. So it is helpful to us, this ideological state apparatus, you brainwash people. Tawala Kenya, those songs more used to encourage choirs to sing and entertain him with. And then the family institution is also, brainwashes people. You must be a law-abiding citizen, even when the government is oppressing you. Don't ask questions. The schooling system, you must be a well-behaved child. That's brainwashing. They don't encourage you to ask questions. They don't. They do not. And then the opposite of that is the repressive state apparatus. The government itself, very violent. The Kenyan government is violent. Even if it's not physically, even when you go to government offices, people would ask you, what are you looking for here? Mkubwa ametoka, enda ukuje kesho ama siku. That's violence. There's no courtesy there. It's like you're not wanted there. That's violence. That's repression. The police, the courts, those who keep on saying the courts are the courts have never been friends of ordinary people. The courts always work for the powers that be. Those who hold power in any given society are the ones who control the courts because they're the ones who make the laws and they can repeal those laws. And rulings are always in their favor and they can afford to ignore court rulings. So the courts are part of the repressive state apparatus, So within this ideology thing, you have also the church. You go to church, be a good Christian, let's go and pray for peace. And people have stolen elections. They're brainwashing you. Let's pray for elections. We want peaceful elections. But you can't have peaceful elections when there is no ecosystem for peaceful elections. You can't. But the church will tell you to go to church. Let's set up one Sunday to pray for elections, peaceful elections. How does it work? When you know clearly that this election is going to be chaotic. That's an ideological repressive apparatus. So Pipita Carrera, I agree with him. All those things about Kangura courts in Rwanda, Radio Milkoli in Rwanda, that were, mobilizing Hutu ideologues to arm themselves with machetes and hunt down Tutsis and chop them. The media was integral to that. And therefore, when the media misbehaves and we don't call them out, we are fomenting trouble. We're fomenting trouble. When we laugh at crass, jokes like on Churchill Show or those comedies that have been mentioned, which ridicule ordinary people, the way they pronounce English and stuff like that. Satire must be directed at the powerful. Satire. If you want satire to make sense, direct it at the powerful. Don't mock ordinary powerless people with their daily struggles. Workers, security guards, police officers, domestic workers. That's not satire. That's callousness. Satire, you direct it to the powerful. Those people control guns. They control the courts. They've got immense wealth that the people are supposed to mock and ridicule for satire to be powerful. But in Kenya, satire is the powerful. Satire is you mimic how they speak. That's satire. No, it's not. That's not satire. And that's why our comedy is really at the rock bottom. You watch Daily Show. That's why they had to go for a South African, Trevor Noah, to host that show. Because comedy in South Africa is top tier. It's not about, these funny things, about ethnic stereotypes and what have you. Top tier, issues. You look, okay, what is this person talking about? You must think to make sense of what they're talking about and who they're satirizing. But in Kenya, you're just mocking ordinary people. It doesn't make sense. And then it reminds me, Pipita, of the Kenyan girl who was breaking chips during lockdown. It didn't come as a surprise that it was only South Africans who could appreciate what she was doing. Kenyans did not. She's called, what was her name? My Jimbo or something. Kenyans didn't understand what she was doing. In fact, they dismissed her that this is not comedy because our comedy is low tier. It's low tier. We don't even have something called National School of Arts. That's why you teach people music. You teach people acting. You teach people comedy. You teach people a whole host of things. Countries that care about these things have those institutions. And they train their students. And students who have got that talent, they go through those schools. And that's why we just wonder, what was that girl doing? Is it even worth it? So, Pipita, that is the problem we have in Kenya. And the media have got a free ride because we are not trained to challenge the media. The schooling system does not train us to challenge media narratives. Instead, we regurgitate them. We regurgitate them. From morning to evening, the media will be talking politics and not analyzing politics, just relaying it as it is. They bring a clip, somebody in a funeral, somebody in a baraza is saying very weird things, and then they play that clip and somebody in the studio asks him, what do you make of that? What do you mean by what do you make of that? What do you make of that? That person being ridiculous. That's crass. It goes on and on. So how is the politics, going? 2027, how will it be like? Raila Odinga has lost AU commission chair elections. Now, what do you think? Is he going to dump William Ruto? That crass kind of stories. They don't analyze anything. You're just presenting them as they are. Of course, they are relaying their biases. It's not like they want to inform Kenyans. It's not like they want to embed consciousness among us Kenyans. Consciousness. You dig through the muck. You bring out the subtexts to people who are watching your news or listening to you on a radio show. You do research. At some point, Pipita, Kofi Olomide was in some Kenyan radio studio. This is a celebrity, as far as culture is concerned. Kofi came to this Kenyan radio studio. Can you imagine? And there were these individuals who supposedly were prepared to interview Kofi Olomide, and they were not aware that he had just released a new song. So they learned from him in the studio, told them, no, I've just released a new. They did not even know. So you invite somebody to the studio, you have not even done any research. The question you ask are very weird questions. So you are listening at, why did you bring this individual to the studio? To do what? Because he knows more than you. He's reminding you things that you should have known, which you're supposed to ask him. Now, on this new song, what is it you're doing and what they don't? It reminds them. The same way the CNN Kenyan anchor went to, what is his name? Professor Wole Soyinka's home in Abeokuta, Nigeria, and an interview. Soyinka is a colossus, literary guru, an intellectual par excellence, human rights activist, name it, global icon, Nobel laureate literature. Well, the questions were weird. Were about, Soyinka, the things he likes, the things he doesn't like. But it was never greater conversations about greater issues, about Nigeria, about Africa, about the world. Your conversations about this person, like really? This person has lived his almost 90 years. What has he seen? What are his comments on politics, on culture, on a whole host of things, religion, ethnicity, the things we're talking about here? But it's just about Wole Soyinka, the things he likes, the things he doesn't like, what. And I mean, we can't do that. We can do better. So, Pipita, as I end, what I would say is that the media is a reflection of who we are. The Kenyan media. It's a reflection of who we are. The kind of superficiality that you see it projecting, it's more about the training that we get. Because, you can never get better training as a media practitioner than the training you get when you study, let's say, politics, philosophy, sociology, literature, those are things that prepare you for a career in the media if you want to be a journalist, not just media studies per se, because you are dealing with society, you're dealing with culture, you're dealing with international politics, you're dealing with international figures. So you must have a broader view of the society beyond just media studies. But in Kenya, our media personalities are not this broad trained. That's the challenge. And that's why you see this superficiality. They resort to stereotypes. They are told who to hate. They can spend 2 hours, 3 hours with William Ruto. But William Ruto will come tops. It's like he knows more than they do. They ask him questions that everybody else knows. They have not done any research. And of course, he dismisses them. That you read from the media, and that media is biased towards me. You read that from a newspaper. They never do any research. That's the challenge. So they think you go to interview William Ruto to do somebody's bidding, not to raise issues in the interest of Kenyans. It's like you're doing a bidding for a particular political faction. You're no longer a journalist. So you want to best him. You want to paint him in the darkest of all pictures. That is the challenge, Pipita. Pipita, I dispute this notion that William Ruto is Moi-like. He is not. Because by the time Moi died, Moi was not getting along with William Ruto. He wasn't. In fact, he spoke at his funeral courtesy of being the deputy president of the Republic of Kenya. If he wasn't, he would not have spoken at Moi's funeral. Moi's family would not have allowed him. Uhuru Kenyatta would not have allowed him. So if he's Moi-like, why did he fall out with Moi? Why did he fall out with Moi? Why? People have to answer that question. Why did Moi get along with Uhuru Kenyatta more than William Ruto if William Ruto was Moi-like? No, he wasn't Moi-like. Moi didn't like William Ruto. Why? Because Moi did not want politicians who could outshine him. He didn't like them. He didn't like them. And William Ruto did exactly that. He wrestled the Kalenjin constituency from him, whereas Moi was hoping to pass that constituency to one of his sons to use it for bargaining, this ethnic politics. William Ruto ran away with it. And he didn't like that. He hated him. So it's not like William Ruto is Moi-like. He's not Moi-like. He's his own person. And to reduce him to Moi-like is saying that there are 5 presidents who have had Mohammed. Yes, I think 5. If you reduce William Ruto to Moi-like, you're treading on dangerous ground. Because what you're saying is that of all these presidents, the 2 Kalenjin presidents were the worst. The Kikuyu presidents did a better job for the country. That's what you're saying effectively. And we're saying we have to be careful about such narratives because they're dangerous. They're genocidal. They're not helping any country to go anywhere. That's the point you're making. These 2, they're the ones who have destroyed the country. The other ones worked for Kenya, but they did not. They didn't. Facts are stubborn. They did not work for Kenya. They worked for themselves. If they worked for Kenya, why is it that all of them are amongst the wealthiest people in the country? They are the wealthiest people in the country. How come? If they worked for Kenya. If they worked for Kenya, we should have a former president who is just depending on his pension, on his salary as a former president. Yeah, who do we have in Kenya? They don't have any businesses. They just work for Kenya. They don't have any tracts of land that they grabbed. They just depending on the salary that Kenyans pay them as a former president. Do we have somebody like that? Do we have him? So who are they working for? No, please, let's not distort history. Let's not be revisionists.
1 minute.
It's not going to help us. It's what destroys the country. Those kind of narratives are dangerous. Let's fight against bad governance. Let's fight against lethargy, corruption. Let's not personalize those things. If we personalize and ethnicize those things, we are part of the problem, and these problems are not going to end, Pipita. Pipita, as I learned, I want to give you another memo, because I give memos for the simple reason that I don't hold brief for these politicians. I don't. I hold brief for nobody. I treat them as one undifferentiated wall. If people will go into next elections with the purpose to defeat William Ruto as a person, as an individual, they will defeat themselves. If they go into those elections with the intention of defeating bad governance, institutionalized corruption, ethnicity, nepotism, impunity, they will succeed. And if they go into those elections with the intention of setting up, resetting the country, to anchor it in values, in morality, in ethics, in a particular philosophy, and to treat Kenyans across the board the same, irrespective of whatever differences they have, they are going to succeed. And they've got a bigger agenda. That's my memo. But just to go into those elections that we want Raila Odinga, for instance, to come and help us defeat William Ruto, you will defeat yourself. It's as simple as that. I don't have to elaborate. You will defeat yourself, because that's what Kenyans wanted to do 2002, to defeat Daniel Moi. They ended up defeating themselves because Moi did not go anywhere. He may have died, buried, but people who succeeded him continued behaving like him. So it was a defeat of yourself. So we must conquer ourselves first and foremost before we seek to conquer somebody else. Our biases, our desires, our prejudice, our greed, our small-mindedness, we must defeat those things first. Then we can fight for a bigger cause. But as long as we're tethered to those petty, parochial, petulant things, William Ruto may not be re-elected or may be re-elected, but the status quo will not change. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Western Shilaho. Olwande alasema alisikiza submission mpaka kalala. Kwani hadi wasaizi hawajazoea kusikiza Western bwana. Waache tabia gani? Thank you, Western. All right.
Kwani
Olwande.
pipi pia hayuko kwa mic ama?
Unanisikia Olwande? Western, can you hear me?
Host, hauko kwa mic?
Can you hear me, Olwande? Maria? All right.
Western, you can hear him. You can hear him. You can hear him.
Can you hear Olwande?
Asante,
Pipita,
Western.
are you there?
Yes, Olwande. Yeah, niko hapa.
So as Pipita bado hajarudi, wacha mimi ni continue. Well, so mimi, my idea is as much as the live stream media is contributing to tribalism, partly, but you see, you are just giving them that you are like a catalyst, because they also find out, they also check out on what can trend on their side. So whatever can trend, that is what they go for. So for me, I tend to believe that tribalism with the media, it first must change with you. And right now I'm happy like the social media platform, and when an information is being passed, if it's contrary, we also have videos, because right now we have TikTok, people can record videos and also post them on TikTok, and people can get the real thing that is on the ground. But you see, previously, without those things, we could not get the gauge, what is actually happening on the ground. And that's why right now, you see, when Ruto is heckled, people can see it, because there are also TikTok videos. People can go online and record these events, which was not the reality back then. So
Olwande. Hola.
hey, my son was crying. My son, was crying and I had to attend to him. So, as I was saying, Kuja. Shh. So, as I was saying, I think change begins with us, and we should first change our way of thinking. Then we can also push the media to change. So, change begins with us. Thank you, Pipi. Me, I won't talk much. I think that's enough.
All right. John Bala, do you have something to add to this conversation?
Yes, I have. First of all, I just want to thank Western. I think he's just put it the way it should be. You see, the issue of kubembelezana here is something that has been affecting us for quite some time. And so, first of all, the constitution we're using to the update was not initiated by us. It's something we're just improving, trying to amend day in, day out. And as we amend, we are not also actually implementing what we are amending. And that is the problem. So when I look at the system of our education, I can vividly suggest that we do not have a way of educating the young people to love their country first, to understand the importance of being patriotic, because everyone as they grow up, they get this mentality from their parents that this tribe is not better than us. Maybe they do this and we do not like it. You can never get married to this tribe. And this has affected so many people in one way or another. And you feel like you love someone, but you can't get married to them because of their tribe. And I think the fuel has been added by the media, the mainstream media, because when you listen to like sentiments, the news, like let's take for instance what is happening in the country right now. We didn't like what the politicians were doing for the impeachment of Gashagwa. We can say that yeah, there was some kind of the vice president at that time did lack what we call that national look because of what he was saying or on the media and the kind of narrative he was pushing, because he was not pushing a narrative for all people. He was pushing for the mountain. And when I sit down and digest what I'm saying right now, that we might have a scenario where this guy will be elected into an elective post, I just feel like dying, because we are going to make the same mistake. Like Western has said, if we have that mindset of that 2027 we're going the main topic or maybe the main issue will be to get rid of Ruto, then we're likely to make a mistake, because we might elect someone into that position who is not worthy, someone who's not competent enough to lead this country into the right direction. So for me, I believe the tribal thing that the media has been pushing is likely to succeed if we do not look at it keenly and decide which way to go, because we have a right, we have like the prerogative to stop what is happening. And as Madam has just said, if we give these people audience, if we give this kind of stupid ideologies the ear, then we actually energizing these people to continue doing what we are against. And for me, I think if we are to change this country, there are a few things that we just need to come to terms with. And first, we just need to understand the fact that we are not where we were during Moi's time. I think people are more educated now, and people should be making better decisions now, because I had this a guy who was telling me that come 2027, he might be forced to steal his parents' ID cards so that they don't vote, because they might make that mistake of voting for their for that person from their place, who's not competent enough. But we know that is what has been happening. And so I just believe as we continue, we learn to educate others and improve on the shortcomings that we've had. But so far, so good. The platforms that we've had are really teaching us a lot, and we are growing because now having platforms like this, having conversations like this, is just a privilege. And for us to speak freely is a blessing. So let us continue advocating for good governance, for positivity. I believe things will change. Yes, so many people died during the finance bill, and those people were tribeless. And I just believe that their blood will not go in vain. I think the sacrifices they made will bring some sort of change in this country. So let us continue doing the right thing and change our society. Thank you.
Thank you for that, Bwana Join. I see Bionic D has joined us. Thank you so much. Mute. I see Bionic D has joined us. How are you doing? How are you feeling, Bionic?
Hi, PP. Hi, everybody. I'm still just taking it a day at a time. Today I have a little strength, so I decided to chip in my 2 cents on the topic. How are you doing, PP?
I am well. I'm pushing also a day at a time on this other side as well.
Okay, good. I've heard what most people said. I wanted to first say to Olwande, I'm so sorry for what you went through, being arrested and being detained for that long. That must have been just hell to go through. I hope that doesn't happen to you again. I'm so sorry. So the topic about the media, I think we've forgotten, and I didn't hear it from anybody, that the media is a business. These people, this news stations, the newspapers, they're in the business of news. So they chase the trending topics in terms of politics, obviously. So what people want to hear of what's going on is the hot topic that they give to people, and that's what people want to hear every other day, because Kenyans are very politically savvy. Even people in the village, they know what's going on in politics. So when they pick up a newspaper, they're looking for what they had or what they were discussing yesterday. They want to see the progress of that. Yeah. So if in terms of them, the media pushing tribe, that's kind of what they've always done, because it's part of our narrative as Kenyans. We propagate tribes so much, and it's part of it's institutionalized. It's in everything we do. So did they start this thing? No, I think it started during post-colonial times, and with the new post-colonial government. That's what I think. And the Wazungus and who they left in power and all that good shit. So it started a long time, and the media just went with it because they are in the business of news. So I just wanted to mention that. I can't really talk too long. I ran out of breath. Okay. Yeah. Kind of that's all I wanted to share. Thanks.
Thank you, Bionic, and also we are wishing you a quick recovery in your journey back as well to full strength. Now we are 13 minutes at the top of the hour. I like the way we are doing today. It looks like today you guys are going to avoid the home run fine. Very nice. We should do it like this. Every time the show should end at 9 p.m. Latest 9, 10, or 20. Anything later than that, we have to do something about it on the tip jar. Ni hivyo tu tutafanya, because sasa unajua pia it's too stressful to run this program. As you've heard Bionic say, running a media house is expensive and it's a business. And we have seen my guys here, Kina Ayo, who have been working in some media houses and they have been unable to pay them. You know, that is why Kina Ayo are like, hey. So yeah, running a media house is not an easy thing, and of course, there's a lot of challenges also that comes with it. Na pia ukikaa vibaya serikali pia wanakufungia. I remember one time Duale, when he was defense minister, he sat down with Jeff Koinange alone. He likes sitting down with Jeff because nikawa naongea like millionaires. So Jeff and he told Jeff, you know, we give you protection, right? We protect you. So the media were like, okay, umetoka hapa na nyinyi Hurlingham, and they're like, okay, sawa sawa. That is something. Kwenye comment section, Japonjana ameandika First Lady Rachel Ruto host DP Kindiki's spouse Joyce Kidure for a meeting at State House. Okay, how is that news, bwana Japonji bwana? Yeah. In this age of social media and the internet, why does what a media house have to do still stay matter? Now, this is a very good question John Seremani had asked. I'm sad that he's already left, but why it matters is because despite us being independent media personalities, we do not have the rich resources and finances to do what a media house, say like Royal Media House, can do in terms of dissemination of information. That is why we need them to be factual. Since it not our opinions, but if you have a media house like Royal Media House, which is being watched by millions of Kenyans disseminating like fake news, then you see the damage it could cause. So that is why we need such houses to be very factual. Yes. So basically, and this, I'm not saying Royal Media House in terms of Royal Media House as a person. I'm just saying as an example. You know, like Standard Media Group. So if you have such media conglomerates running, they run in terms of information, dissemination of information, and the speedy rotation of information. And some of them, that is why they are the ones who also have the power to do live coverages in the way they do. Yeah, until we came with the TikTok live, Instagram live, and X Spaces, they had the power of live streaming voices. You know, wao ndo walikuwa anaweza pigisha simu hapa wapeperushe. So sahii at least we can go live. Everybody can go live. I see Bionic ameinua mkono juu. I'm gonna let Bionic speak to us. Ladies and gentlemen, we are 10 minutes to the top of the hour. Kindly go to that tip jar and support the show. Bionic.
Yeah, I remembered something and I just wanted to add it real quick. Also, the media is the government, you know, tries to control them, and more or less they do in terms of what news they put out there. The government kind of has to, quote unquote, approve. Remember when Mama Lucy went to Standard Media House and burned down the next day's paper because she didn't approve of what they were going to print out the next morning? So I think from my point of view, from what I've always seen, they have to toe the line, and that may mean they put out news that's not legit, you know. Yeah, I just remember that whole thing in Mama Lucy, and I wanted to bring it up. The media, they don't really have that much freedom, at least not in Kenya. Yeah, thanks.
Speaking of being put on check, we remember even the Armenian brothers who were brought to run an operation, and I think that is what you're talking about. They ran an operation inside Standard. Was it Standard? Yes, they ran an operation to ban the following day's newspaper. Yeah, and they really harassed the staff there. Quite some stories.
So you're saying that other than what Mama Lucy did, they also these brothers did the same thing.
These ones actually went with a whole group of masked men, and they invaded the Standard Media House. I think it was in 2005. I was a kid then, about 10. But I remember it was quite intriguing. The story was everywhere, and from a very young age, I really loved watching news. So I saw that story. Oh yeah, walikuwa wanaitwa. Actually, that was the first time I heard the word Mamluki. It was sensational. Sijui kama it was in the late 2000s, during the Kibaki era, I think. So sometimes also when you're talking about him as the best president, you also don't talk about exactly some of the things that he did.
Pipita,
Yes.
they were called Atur brothers.
Yes, Artur Sagastian and Margarian.
Correct, Mamluki.
What she's talking about, Mama Lucy, is when she went to Nation and slapped a reporter who was trying to say that Kibaki had a second wife. But the Mamlukis are the ones that visited Standard and burnt the whole batch of the newspapers.
Yeah, because the Standard Media House was accused of running a story about heist in the Kibaki government. The following day, the newspaper was meant to run a story about mega corruption. So they are to destroy the newspapers and the equipment.
Was it connected to the Anglo leasing?
Yeah, Pipita. I mean, it's all heist and corruption. So there were mega corruption scandals, some which we didn't know. But what we know, the high-profile one was the Anglo leasing. That was a high-profile corruption under Kibaki regime, which was a carryover from the Moi regime about labs for forensic labs for security apparatus and news. Generation passports and stuff, a whole host of things that they wanted to modernize the security sector, issuance of IDs and a whole host of, but it was just heist. It was a heist. People just looted money. And of course, because the security budget is never audited. So you can always quote a whole host of things that you want to do with the money, whereas in actual sense, you just want to share the loot amongst yourself. So I think the paper had a scoop, and they were running a story along those lines, and those characters just stormed the media house and destroyed not just the newspapers that were supposed to be supplied across the country, but the equipment also. The printing equipment running into millions under Kibaki regime. He told was best president.
Thanks for that info, guys.
Also, in this in 2017, I think, was it 2017? Yeah, 2017. There was also a time the switch was switched off. I think somebody said everything is all good until KBC reminds you that they own your signal. I really need to change, my friends.
Ladies and gentlemen, join Home Run with PP every weekday from 4 p.m. to 9 p.m. only on X Spaces. Home Run with PP, the home of your most valuable social conversations.
One thing I like about these politicians is their consistency. Right now, I'm seeing every day I've seen a tag they have sponsored. Kasa inaona kuna mwingine ameandika Mulongo ni muongo. Kuna ingine imeandikwa hapa yani Kimani huyu wa matangi sasa amejilipia. Everybody is trying to sanitize themselves on social media, cleaning the search engine. Yeah, but it's not easy. Yeah, once your name goes into the dirty pack, it's very hard for you to come back. Anyway, we are 3 minutes the top of the hour. I don't see anybody trying to make it to the mic. I think today we are going to end on regular time, as we should be.
You are listening to Home Run with Pipi. Weekdays from 4 p.m. to 9 p.m.
Acha tuangalie another comment kwenye comment section hapa hivi, maybe one or two before we call it a night here. Unless Western Bionic or John has something by show of hands, I think I'm going to be ending it right after I read these comments. Sylvester earlier on was said this: Western Shilao, the American dream was an idea, and terrible at it was is because when you dare sleep, it becomes a nightmare. That is Sylvester Muyakani. Githaiga anasema Malia Davis, speaking of Jackson Angaine during Moi's regime, that guy transferred over 3,000 acres of Mount Kenya land that was supposed to resettle Mount Kenya squatters in 1975. The matter is with the National Lands Commission Historical Land Injustices. That is from Githaiga. All right. What else? Richard anasema kwamba I've seen a growing trend among my peers and me. We've diversified our sources of information. This proactive approach has significantly helped us filter out tribal and biased rhetoric, fostering a more balanced and informed perspective. That is Richie. Yes, I think that is all of the comments. Hizo zingine ni watu wakisema follow me. Abu anaweza is Ruto replicating Moi or what? It's hard to replicate something that you can't be part of. Raila rudi nyumbani utetee wananchi, baba rudi nyumbani, that's a Nyeri resident. And you know, one thing I noticed is when they were even giving the mic to these speakers, wenye wako kwa hizi towns like in Nyeri, you know, they get people who speak the rhetoric that they want that region to speak. I don't know if it's by coincidence or that is how they do it, but they get somebody who is heavily on that rhetoric. Yeah, kama sahii walikuwa wanataka watu wa Nyeri wa sound ni kama baba amewakasirisha sana, and that is who they actually brought on camera. Very, very, very unfortunate. Hi, anyway, for me, I don't have much. Yes. Mm-hmm.
As you end, just that particular bit that you mentioned, I'm afraid, because Pipita, you're sure, you know, one thing I must tell you, why it stands out is that you're the only show where I hardly hear you. In fact, I've never heard you ask your listeners, what is your solution? You never ask anybody that question, which is impressive because the media in Kenya asks that question. And when they ask you that question, what it implies that they're not interested in your thought process. They're not interested in your thinking. They just want you to give them a solution. And if you don't have a solution, shut up. You have no business commenting on the question, you know, at hand, which is problematic. So you never ask your listeners, what is your question? Because in the discussions, in the questions we ask, there are answers. If only we pay attention to the issues we're raising, there are answers. And that Nyeri bit that you talked about, Pipita, I'm afraid that in days to come, or 1 or 2 years to come, those who are celebrating Raila Odinga's, I don't celebrate. I knew he would lose, but I don't celebrate. But those who are celebrating Raila Odinga's loss at the AU will wish that he got the position. They will wish that actually he got the position. Because these two individuals, Raila Odinga and William Ruto, of course, they're smirking from this defeat. It has pricked their egos. Don't just listen when they say, no, we accept that. It has really pricked their egos on the continent and beyond. So they're looking for some victory, some serious victory. They're looking for it. And which will entail some heavy lifting. They're not looking for some light victory where there's a walkover. They're looking for a victory where they will make a point and prove a point. And I think they will look to 2027 to make that statement. That is my prediction. They will be bound together by this loss, and they would want to use this loss for some statement at a later date. And that date is likely to be 2027. So I don't celebrate. I fear for my country because I can see the narrative building up as we go into those elections. And you can tell, if you pay attention, you can tell how they build their campaigns. You can tell the narrative that informs the campaigns. You can tell. But we don't pay attention. The media doesn't pay attention. And they will invite us to prayers at the 11th hour, which will be late. So that's my fear, that they will go into 2027 elections determined to make a statement, if only to get over the defeat over the weekend. Thank you.
Thank you Western. I see Bionic ameinua mkono juu. Bionic, wewe unaona unataka fine na tunaona uko mgonjwa dada. Talk to us.
Wacha niongeza ile bado naweza. I just remembered something I saw earlier today. Wakili Willis Otieno was talking about just what Western is saying, that Baba tied to Ruto was gonna be a loss for him, just because he was tied to Ruto. Like Ruto to him is a burden. And he mentioned the Besige's abduction in Kenya, on Kenyan soil, and how Raila didn't say anything about it because he's buddy with Ruto. He didn't mention anything, and then he tied it to the election of some former opposition leaders in the continent, like the Senegalese president, the guy who was released from prison and after 20 days became the president. He was an opposition leader before that, and then he also mentioned the president of Botswana, who was also the new one, who was also an opposition leader. There's one more, Senegal, Botswana, and he was mentioning these guys in terms of they were watching. The continent is watching how what Ruto is doing in Kenya, and Baba is tied to Ruto, so they were not gonna just vote for a guy who was once an opposition leader and is now tied to a dictator. So yeah, it was interesting to see how the Wakili tied it all up. And he was talking, this was even before the loss. This was pre-election of the AU chairmanship. So I think, yeah, it's like Baba, Ruto is an albatross on Baba's neck, seriously. And I don't know what he does next or what he tries to do next, but he needs to shake Ruto off him and just go back to being, in my opinion, Baba. So he can follow, try to clean his legacy at least a little bit. Yeah. Yeah. Let me leave it there. Thank you. Good night.
Good night. Good day ahead, Bionic. I'm glad to hear from you, and of course, we pray for you to get better and stronger, so you can get to talk to us more. Yeah. So thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen. It has been quite an event here kwenye Home Run Pipi. Each and every day, that's what we do here from 4 p.m. all the way to 9 East African time. And it's exactly 6 minutes past 9. And I think from my side, I don't have much to say to you. As Western says, I don't ask for people's solutions because at the end of it all, most of these solutions are just personal opinions. So you just have to share everybody's thoughts. Sometimes you might feel the urge to make people to just want to hear from people who sound like you. Okay. But it's good to also hear from the other side, so long as they are keeping it respectful. You know, it's a balance. It's what we call a big balance. But anyway, thank you so much for keeping me company from all the way at 4 p.m. until now. We'll be back again tomorrow at 4 p.m. for State of the Nation. And of course, we have a special legal segment tomorrow. So kesho mkuja na maswali ya legal, I will be here with Wakili Marlon to try and answer one or two questions of yours. So until then, have a great evening and a great day ahead for those who are listening to us from the other side of the pond. Good night. Bye.
Ladies and gentlemen, join Home Run with PP every weekday from 4 p.m. to 9 p.m. only on X Spaces. Home Run with PP, the home of your most valuable social conversations.